All right, thanks for coming back to the Bigfoot Society podcast. I have Connor Anderson with me from the North American Bigfoot Center in Boring, Oregon, correct?
That is accurate. Yes.
Awesome. And do you mind kind of telling a little bit about yourself, Connor, and who it is that you are and what you do?
Sure. Who are we all is a question we always try to figure out, right? So my name's
Right.
Connor. I've been into Bigfooting basically my entire life, but actively doing something about it for the last 10 years, give or take.
Mm.
Um, I recently got a job here at the North American Bigfoot Center, which has been the coolest thing in the history of all time,
Yeah.
because now I get to do this as my full-time job, which is
So cool.
incredible. Yeah, I'm very lucky, very lucky. So I think that's a pretty basic overview, I guess.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Sure. All right.
Did you grow up in Oregon then, or where is kind of your home, or where'd you grow up learning about Bigfoot?
So I was born in California, but I've
Okay.
spent the majority of my life in Colorado. My family moved there when I was very young, and so I kind of grew up there, hearing about Bigfoot as not a thing that was there in that state so much at
Okay.
the time, but I didn't think so at least. And then, my uncle told me a story when I was 7 or 8 that I remember being the thing that kind of got me into this. He found
Oh, cool.
footprints in fresh snow in the middle of nowhere near Denny, California in the early 70s.
Oh
And
man.
that was kind of a thing that I made me think, oh yeah, maybe there's something actually to this. That's a good story. And so the years kind of went on, and I would forget about Bigfoot here and there, mostly because I was trying to be cool in high school, which was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kind of rediscovered my love for it back in the early 2010s, you
Okay.
know, and I picked up the old books again, and I started going out looking for these things in Colorado,
Uh,
because there was this TV show that came on the air around then. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Finding Bigfoot, but there's
never. I've never heard of
yeah,
it. That's
it's kind
cool.
of like an underground thing,
Yeah,
but
it's this indie
uh,
thing.
yeah,
You have
very
to
low
torrent
budget.
it in order to find it. Yeah.
Right. Only
Yeah.
pirate the thing. So
Yeah. Exactly.
they started talking about that was the first time that my mind was kind of open to the possibility of these animals being someplace other than just the Pacific Northwest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I started digging into reports in Colorado, and I realized that there were some recent ones. And so I went out and I started looking for stuff, and it kind of snowballed from there.
Wow. That is awesome. I love how it's a story from a relative that got you kicked into it, because it's
Yeah,
usually people will say, I saw, in search of, or I saw,
right.
this or this, but it's like it was an actual like story from a person that got you into it. That is really really cool. Was that in Northern California, or that he saw, or what?
Yeah, he it was near Denny, California. I don't know the exact details,
Okay.
but he lived in Denny, and he had like it's been a long time. I need to talk to him about it again, but he basically had to park at the end of a road and then backpack to this house, like
Mm.
walk a few miles to get there. And on the way back one day, it had started snowing, and between the time that he left and the time he got between the time he left the house and got to his car, it started snowing, and in the fresh snow, he found footprints.
Wow.
So it's not that far from Willow Creek. I mean, it's like it's
Okay.
far from
Okay.
Willow Creek, but it's that sort of ballpark of the state,
Yeah,
you know?
sure. That kind of
Yeah,
area. Okay.
yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I would assume that you have cast footprints, and so when you say like you're going out and you're
Yeah.
doing active things, like what kind of things are you doing? I assume you're going out with Cliff. Keep
These
in
days,
mind,
yeah,
I
yeah,
know I know the answers to these questions, but
yeah, for sure. Uh, these days, yes, we go out basically. Again, best job in the world.
yeah.
People just bring us stories
Oh man,
all the time, and I'm sure he mentioned this a little bit, but we get I don't know 3 or 5 stories a week, kind of on
that's
average.
so cool.
It is, and most are months old or years old, but every now and then we'll get one that's really fresh within a day or two, and then we'll go out
Wow.
and kind of follow up that whole investigation, do a lot of field work. Pour we have poured some prints, we've done some stuff like that.
Mm.
That is the second thing that I've ever cast that I'm convinced is a Bigfoot track. I've only pulled 2 ever,
Okay.
which is good, which is better than I thought I would do at this point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What's the first?
The first was in a place. I'm trying to be vague. It was in Colorado.
Okay.
One of my I posted something about it on the
Yep.
Patreon today. So that I went back to that location last year, and I think I pulled a print from up there. I didn't pour that one. This is useless unless people have read that story. So I should probably.
But they can.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's the thing. If you're comfortable
go.
sharing a little bit of that story, you can. But if you want to hear the really intense details, you have to join the North American Bigfoot Center Patreon and see all the photos. And like Connor put an excellent post up today that is just awesome.
Well,
So
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did, as I mentioned briefly in the post. I had my video camera with me, and so all of that is on film, and
cool.
I've been putting that together slowly over the last few years, and maybe on the anniversary next year we'll release the whole here's the video of that whole thing, because
that would be cool.
Knowing me, it'll take another year to edit it. But the short version of the story is I found tracks in this really high altitude. That's right. Sorry, it's been a long day. This sort of high elevation swampy meadow in Colorado that I found on Google Earth doing just some research. I was thinking, well, because that's a great resource, right?
Oh yeah.
I've got a plugin that shows me Bigfoot sightings.
Really?
Through a couple of databases. Yeah.
That's
Cliff
cool.
sent me the link to that a while ago.
Oh wow.
But I would use that in combination with my own kind of knowledge of where these things have been seen, and then just think, okay, they need food, they need water, they need cover, and they need a place to live that's out of the way. What's a good spot? And I picked this valley kind of at random using all that. And I thought, okay, we'll go right there. And within 30 minutes, I found that track, and I was like, holy cow, that is impossible.
Wow.
But nobody knows I'm here. This can't be fake. It was
exactly.
It was absolutely surreal.
And
totally
it's
surreal.
So that's the same track that you have the photo of in
the
post. That's it's really, really big. Like
it is really big.
Massive. I've seen a lot of pictures of I think it's the fact that you actually have your footprint in it or close to it as well.
Yeah.
Because it really you're like, whoa, this is massive. Like what's the length of it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's about 18 inches, 18 or 19 inches long. It's 8 inches across the ball of the foot and 7 across the heels. It's insanely huge. It's big enough that if I hadn't seen it, I would think, that's a bit big for a track.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem likely, because that thing must have been huge. That's a big animal up there.
It's a very big animal.
It's a very big animal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I got lucky. My entire quote unquote Bigfooting career has just been getting lucky a little bit at a time for 10 years in a row.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
So you are, let's start with this. I'm curious, what is your day like working at the North American Bigfoot Center? What is a normal day for Connor Anderson? How does that work out?
Well, it's absolutely awesome. Yeah. I think so. I basically run the shop open to close most days.
Okay.
And Cliff and Melissa come as they go, because they're the owners. They can show up whenever they want for as long or as little as they feel like it. And so I get everything in the museum up and running. I get all the video displays going. I do all that stuff. I do all the online order shipping stuff. I get that all set. I've been doing a lot of filling out Patreon membership forms the last couple of days, which is fun.
Yeah.
And then, I open the shop and I basically work on the membership videos or blog posts on my laptop at the desk.
Okay.
And people come in and I give them, the rundown. I say, oh yeah, here's the deal. Look at all this cool stuff. Go in the back if you want to, yada, yada, yada. And I'm the guy that gets all the reports right off the front. And I've seen a lot of pictures of just shade and dark trees a lot of pixelated pictures.
You're like,
it's like, it's right there. Can you see it? No.
Can you draw a red circle around that for me?
Oh yeah. I've seen a lot of those too. So, and that's basically the entirety of the day. And then and then that's it. Yeah, it's again, it's great.
So open is what time's open? What time is closed?
We are open 10 to 5 Thursday through Monday. Yeah,
that's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah, so that allows you to do like, weekend expeditions if you want, or like, you could take a few hours out at, after close and go somewhere. And
I've done pretty late hikes on weekdays, on work nights.
Yeah,
I'll drive up and go to a place for a few hours and drive back, and it's still, a reasonable time to go to bed to get to work at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm curious, how long did it take? Can I reference stuff in the Patreon if I'm
Yeah. No, you can be as specific as you want, because
awesome.
Like the more detail we give people, the more likely they're going to want to go see it. True. Right. Because I think.
So one of my favorite, I like all the stuff in there, but one of the favorite things I have is the episode of you going on the expedition in the woods with Cliff.
Yeah.
It's like really well put together. And it's kind of like, it's really, I have to be careful how I say this, but it's like, if you liked Finding Bigfoot and you like wish that, it's very well done. It's like hats off to you. It's very cool.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. If you liked Finding Bigfoot and you're like, I wish I could watch that again, but maybe with some improvements, like that's it, man. It's cool. And man, like the footprint analysis video where Cliff is geeking out over, like, I learned more from that video. It was incredible. I was like Googling stuff at the same time. I was like rewatching it, and
excellent.
It's very
that
cool.
means we're doing our job well. You know, like we want these to be the best, the most highest, the most again, long day, the highest quality videos that we could possibly make. Because I don't think there's anything quite like this on the internet for this subject at all.
Nope.
And so Cliff and I,
that I've seen.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time just sitting down over burgers and like talking this thing out and trying to figure out what we want to make. And we have really cool stuff, I think, is coming in the next, it's only going to get better from here. Like first 5 videos were the worst ones we'll ever make, and it's just going to get better from here.
Because they're pretty good.
Well, thank you.
Good,
yeah.
Man.
So we've got big plans. I'm very excited. Thank you for being a member, by the way. Yeah.
I've been waiting for a while to throw money at you guys. So
we'll take it.
You're good.
Yeah.
If you, let's see, so you've already said you're into Finding Bigfoot. Does it blow your mind? Like, do you ever get like thinking retrospectively, and you're like, man, I used to be into this show, like watching it all the time, and now I get to like, hang out with Primo. I'm working for Cliff, but I also get to hang out with him. Like, does that just kind of blow your mind, or like you try not to get too far into that because then it's like takes you out of it, and you're like, But,
it's weird. It took. Cliff's an absolutely cool guy, and I'm not saying that because I think he'll hear this. I'm saying that because he's just a great guy.
100%.
And Melissa too. They're just fantastic people, and so it's really easy to just forget that he was on TV. That I spent 10 years of my life watching this guy on TV before I became friends with him, because we're really good friends. Yeah. And so it's because he's so cool. It's easy to kind of put that aside and be like, oh yeah, forget TV Cliff. But what happens? This is pretty funny.
Okay.
So I'll spend time just, hanging out with him and chatting with him.
Yeah.
And then we'll film one of these things and he just turns on TV Cliff.
Yes, totally.
And that is intimidating. The first few times I saw that, I was like, oh geez. Okay. This is really nerve wracking. That's all right. But I've gotten better at dealing with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think so. I've asked this question in another interview of, it was either Melissa or Cliff, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But has there been anyone that has come into the museum where like, oh my goodness, look, that's like, I'm not expecting you to be here because this is amazing. Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. I mean, people
That's
just
awesome.
are kind of casual about it sometimes.
Yeah, and you don't want to like be freaking out. You just gotta
Right.
be cool, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we had this was kind of a prearranged thing, but Wes Summerlin's kid and grandkid were here for a thing a couple weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Oh man.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. That was cool, just talking to them. Like,
Yep.
uh, his kid, I forget his name, an older gentleman. We went back and we looked at the map that his dad did with Paul Freeman on the wall, and we like talked about all this stuff.
Man.
I was like,
That's
that's
cool.
insanely cool.
Yeah.
Jerry Crew's granddaughter came in one day, just without
wow.
warning. Lauren Coleman's son was in about a month ago.
Oh,
like
cool.
people just show up. It's like, oh, okay.
Man, how cool is that?
Kind of, yeah, it's very cool. Surreal.
What do you find people talking about in the museum when do you find they're usually referring to like, oh, that was my favorite, or like that exhibit is, are there top exhibits you find or anything like that?
Yeah, people love Murphy right off the bat.
Yeah, totally.
It's hard not to. That guy kind of steals the stage and the spotlight in that room back there.
Yeah.
But people are, more often than not, they come out and are just impressed. Mm-hmm. I've heard people say things like, wow, that's really good. I wasn't expecting that sort of thing, which I like.
Wow. Yeah,
I like the idea that people come in expecting like we are a roadside attraction, but like, world's largest ball of twine sort of thing. And then they spend 45 minutes in the museum and they come out and like, wow, that was really well put together. These things are definitely out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite part is watching groups of people come in, and it's like, you can tell they're all here for Carl's birthday or whatever. And his uncle really doesn't want to be here because Bigfoot's kind of stupid. And you can tell because they're all like grumpy in the gift shop, and they go back and they'll come out and you can see it like, oh yeah, they learned a thing. They're open to this idea now. And Cliff has mentioned that the goal of the museum is to cushion the blow of discovery. And I think we're doing that slowly, one person at a time.
Really fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I also like, he's got another quote where he says something to the effect of, he wanted to make the best fifth grade science experiment about Bigfoot that there ever could be.
Yep.
Which is really cool. Like,
yeah. It's a fifth grade science project gone wrong. I've heard him say a couple of times, and it's perfect. It's built for all ages, all interest levels, all varying degrees of belief in the subject. If you can walk in at any point in your life and learn something back here. So awesome. I'm incredibly excited and proud that I get to be a part of this thing.
How do you? This is a weird question. How do you package a track casting to send to someone?
A lot of bubble wrap. A lot of packing peanuts, and a lot of hoping that the mail doesn't do something bad to it. Yeah,
because you're probably shipping all over I would assume maybe all over the world.
Yes,
all over the place, probably.
Yeah. We do a lot of shipments to all over, basically.
That's cool.
And we have a hard time keeping the footprints, the casts in stock. Like I sold, counting the one that I wrapped up this morning, 3 copies of the Grays Harbor track today.
Wow.
So we've got to go pour more of those.
Sorry, I'm going to take a minute. I have a question for you that is going to be outside of the podcast.
Okay. Let me take a quick sip of this.
Take a sip. And I don't want to forget. Drink. I want to ask you afterwards because I don't want to it's going to be off to the side. Sorry, guys. But I don't want to forget it. So you must have a background with film. You've got to.
Yes,
can you tell me about that? Because it's like I watch your stuff and it's like, this guy is not just like messing around in Windows Movie Maker in 1998. Like,
not
you've
anymore.
Got to have some background. Yeah, not anymore. So what's your background with that?
Well, for the longest time, that was what I was going to do with my life. I was going to make movies from the age of like, I don't know, something ridiculous. Tiny. I made stop motion films with action figures with my parents' VHS camera when I was probably in elementary school.
Nice.
And so I just have spent a lot of my time making movies. I love movies. I love the entire concept of movies. When I'm not making movies, I'm writing movies. I've got 5 screenplays on my desktop right now that I'm working on. I mean, not
Really?
like what we're talking, but like I love storytelling and the whole filmmaking thing. And, that really kind of works well with doing this sort of work, because it's a good way to document what you're doing. And in the field, I mean, it kind of started because I would bring cameras with me out there, and I would just, it was easier to record myself doing a thing as opposed to stopping every 5 minutes and writing notes down, because I could go back later and kind of type up a little write-up of what happened.
Sure.
And then that just kind of ballooned into things like this, and now the whole museum thing. But yeah, long story short, I went on a tangent there. I've been doing film things for a long time, as long as I have been able to. As long as I've been able to.
That is cool.
End of sentence. Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So, what kind of screenplays are you writing?
Right now, they're all over the place.
Okay, cool.
One is a sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark, Uncharted vibe, globetrotting adventure film. One is a remake of the old 1933 King Kong, but like kind of, because I love that movie.
Okay.
I was a little disappointed in the Skull Island film that came out a few years ago, and I thought to myself jokingly, oh, I can make a better one. And then I said, oh yeah, I should write a better King Kong just for fun. So I've been doing that. There's a very serious black and white detective noir film, but everyone in the movie is clowns, which is really entertaining.
That's awesome. That comes out in your writing in the Patreon. You write in that genre sometimes. I'm like, this is kind of funny. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy the writing and the I don't know. I don't like saying I think I'm funny because it sounds like I'm an asshole, but I make myself laugh, and so I have a tendency of writing silly things. Even in some serious stuff.
There's been some really funny moments in the Patreon videos.
I'm glad you think so.
You got to see them, because when you explain humor, it often doesn't work. So take my word for it. Spend a few bucks, check it out. You'll be in there forever. So, is there a plan to what's are you ever going to publish those, or are those more for your own enjoyment, or what do you think?
A bit of both. For a lot of like copyright legal reasons, I'll probably never make the King Kong movie, but I like writing stuff. The other ones I'm probably going to try to make. I like making short films. I had a pretty good filmmaking team back in Colorado that we would shoot stuff fairly often.
Oh, really?
And so at some point, we're going to make at least one of these in the next couple of years. I'll probably have them all fly out, and we'll shoot a thing for a long weekend and go from there. But yeah.
Are there I half know the answer to this one. So are there films that you've made out there that we can watch in any, outside of the Patreon stuff?
Yeah, there are some. Not all the good ones are out there, but there are some that are out there.
Okay.
I'm curious to know what half of the answer you know.
I think I found one on YouTube today.
Oh, that's very possible.
Yeah, it's called The Hunter.
The Hunted, yes.
Yeah, The Hunted. Yep. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Yeah. That's cool. So that you found my YouTube channel then, and that's where a lot of them are.
All right, cool.
And there's some good stuff on there, and there's also stuff on there that definitely only belongs on the internet and should never be seen in like a professional setting. But yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
You said you enjoy storytelling. Do you see storytelling playing a part in the Bigfoot Center in any way, or how does?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in kind of all of the little facets of what I do, it bleeds in. Like with the Patreon is a great example.
Oh yeah, true.
Doing any sort of documentary filmmaking is just impossible unless you can make up a story is the wrong phrase, but unless you can kind of find the narrative arc through whatever happens, you're just going to end up with 19 hours of useless footage. And so that background of storytelling that I've been working on forever really helps in this sort of thing. It's funny. I have a large collection of totally useless skills, and this job uses every single one of them. And it's like, okay,
you do have a lot of skills from what I've picked up, which is like, actually, I was talking to it was either Cliff or Melissa, and it was like literally no one else could do the job. That it's like you are specifically the person for the job that has to be done. Like
It does feel like
you.
that.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like, I don't
they
think
talk
anyone
very
else could
highly
do
of
it.
me.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah, it's like again, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I do feel like this job was built for me before before I was even a part of this thing. So it was got lucky.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So I would say, well, I'm not going to assume, but I assume that Bigfoot is your favorite cryptid, or it may be.
I would. It's the only one that I legitimately think exists.
Ah, okay.
But I am a big fan of. I mean, we were just talking about King Kong. I love the idea that dinosaurs are still around. I don't think they are.
Too. My goodness.
But that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
Mothman is fun. I like the Mothman a lot.
Mothman is weird, dude, because it's like you go to certain. We are gonna go Tangent City right now. It's gonna be.
Let's
awesome.
do it.
So
let's do it.
It's like you go to different places in our culture right now, and Mothman is a different person to a different thing to different people, which is pretty cool. Like, my goodness, if you go looking at Mothman stuff on TikTok, it's like saddle up, partner, because it's gonna get wild. Like, he really is. He's almost like the mascot or leader of certain subcultures, which is really cool. That's awesome.
Funny.
But that's one of the things where like I've always wanted to go out to the Mothman Museum, and
me too.
Like, that's on the list. And have you ever gotten out to like Mothman Festival or anything like that?
I have not. It's way up on my list though. And
someday, like if COVID goes away, which hopefully it does, but next year's Mothman Festival is going to be nuts. Because it's like it's a big anniversary, and that's like this year didn't happen, but it's going to be just wild and crazy.
21? What would that have been? Because all the Mothman stuff was 67, so maybe Okay, I'm really bad at math in my head right now, but it could be a good anniversary, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have you gone to any festival? Just curious, have you gone to any festivals over the years? Like any of
So I've been to 2 Bigfoot festivals. I had planned on going to 4, but the other 2 got canceled this year. Sure. The Oregon Bigfoot Festival here in Oregon. Last year I went there. That was great. And then there was a smaller festival in Estes Park, Colorado, also last year that I went to. Okay. Back in, I don't know, March, April, sometime last year. Those are the only 2 I've been to. And I saw Dr. Meldrum do a great presentation on like bears versus Sasquatch and how their footprints don't line up and all. So that was great. But festivals are, I don't know, they're cool. They're fun. I like them, but they're not really they're not my jam, as it were. Okay. I'd rather just, I don't know. I'd rather just like sit down and just talk with somebody about the subject than wade through piles and piles of merchandise trying to find. There was a guy at the Estes Park one who had a table full of cast footprints. Yeah. And he was explaining to all these tourists, he's like, oh yeah, these are all juvenile Sasquatch tracks. I pulled them all this last couple of weeks and they were all human footprints. And I wanted to walk up to him and just
you could
start fighting him. Oh yeah. No. That's the difference is so obvious. But all the tourists were like, oh yeah, those are Bigfoot tracks. That's so interesting. It's like, no. Oh no. So that kind of drives me a little bit crazy. There are a lot of people cashing in and not really selling the science part of it and more just like, hey, I can make money. Let's go do that. So
what's the easiest dead giveaway that like you looked at the table and you were like, oh, there's that and that?
Right off the bat, the easiest way to tell is human footprints look like a question mark because they've got the arch, right? Sure. Sasquatch tracks are big and flat because the anatomy of their foot is different from the anatomy of our feet, which we know from all the Sasquatch tracks. So that's the biggest giveaway. And also none of them were over like 11 inches long, which also doesn't help.
Juvenile. Right?
Yeah. So really they were all very small.
Oh man. Hopefully he wasn't charging a lot for that. Like that.
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah,
Stop
I had to
doing
walk
that.
away before
No.
I saw the
No.
details, so I left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Um, yeah, I like them. Well, I've really only been to one.
Hmm.
I've been to because we have the Van Meter Visitor Festival because I'm in central Iowa. It's like
Okay.
20 minutes away from me, which is a really fun time, but it's really small. But it's a fun like networking. Like I like.
Yeah.
I think the conferences are great because it's like you get. Well, I mean, STM wouldn't be what it is today if Mark and Seth had never met at a restaurant
Right.
in the Ohio Bigfoot Conference in
For sure.
2000 and
Yeah.
whatever 14 2014. Yeah, I
Okay.
believe it's
Yeah.
around there. But yeah, I mean, like you meet these people and it could totally, change
Right.
your future.
That's the best part about it.
Mhm.
When I went to the Estes Park one, like I said, I saw Dr. Meldrum do a presentation, but he and I had met the year before on an expedition out here. So I just kind of we just kind of hung around and chatted and like talked
That's
Monty
really
Python
cool.
and Star Trek and stuff at the festival, waiting for
Oh, really?
stuff to
Is he
happen.
like a
Yeah.
big
Oh, he's a huge Trekkie.
really?
Huge
That's
Trekkie.
so
Yeah.
cool.
He's
I
the
gotta chat
coolest
with
guy
him.
in the world. That'd be, yeah, you'd like
That'd
it.
be fun.
This is my favorite Dr. Meldrum
Okay.
story.
All right, let's
So
go.
we were talking Monty Python, and he said his favorite sketch was the one where John Cleese walks around funny, but he couldn't remember the name of it, which is Ministry of Silly Walks.
Right. Yeah.
So he said, I really enjoy the Ministry of Peculiar Gaits. And it's like, that's the most Dr. Meldrum thing I've ever heard.
That is
And
very,
yeah,
that's very
yeah.
much. Yeah.
He's great. He is
What I
great.
know. That is cool. Have you had like any since you're so I guess are people starting to like recognize like this is gonna come across weird, but it's like you go to like a Bigfoot thing and people are like, oh my goodness, it's Connor Anderson from the Bigfoot Center. Has that happened yet? Or like it'll probably happen eventually down the road.
It hasn't really happened yet.
You can be undercover still, which is kind of
yeah,
cool.
which I like. Every now and then somebody comes into the museum here and I'm wearing a mask all day. They can't see who I am.
Oh, that's true.
And every now and then they're like, you sound really familiar.
Hmm.
Where do I know your voice from? I'm like, I don't know. I just have one of those voices, I guess, because I like doing that, So nobody's like chased me down or any of the weird stuff. Not yet. I hope I don't know. I don't think it'll happen, but who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, maybe someday. Is Boring like a really small town? What is the town of Boring like? Like, explain that to me.
Well, the town of Boring lives up to its name. It's about a mile in that direction. We are technically in Boring, but we are in unincorporated Boring here. It's it's a small town, little tiny mountain town. It's nice. It's really nice. It's got some good like coffee shops and stuff in the town. But,
really nice. Okay.
I only really go to the town proper when I'm driving through it to go to the mountains. But the whole area around here is really great. Like a lot of little small towns, little farms, trees everywhere. We've had reports of Sasquatch crossing the road within 5 miles in either direction of the highway here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
that blows my mind.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's so
that's
cool.
like I grew up in New England and it's like we would have moose go through our backyard all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's similar to that. You don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a part of life for some people around here and they don't make a big deal out of it, which is cool.
So you guys are you relatively close to Portland or you're east of Portland, right?
Yeah, we're southeast by probably 45, 50 minutes from like downtown.
Man, that is so crazy. That blows my mind to think that because we visited out there, but I think like 45 minutes outside of Portland, you could be in an area where it's like, it's pretty, I'd say squatchy. Like, that's crazy, man.
In 45 minutes in almost any direction, you can get to a spot where, okay. Yeah, okay. It's pretty cool. Dude. That's why I moved out here,
More power to you. Cause, single guy, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
That means you could be like, it's squatching time. Let's go. I love it.
Sure it is. Yep. There's a lot of great perks to living by yourself. And one of those is I'm just going to go hiking for 4 hours tonight and not worry about telling anybody because I have the one key to my house. No problem.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Actually, so is 45 minutes that what's the closest to Portland you could get and it could become squatchy? What do you think? Is
We're
45 minutes it?
we're probably pretty close. Without like pulling up a map, I would have to.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a picture of our sighting map from downstairs on my phone. So if I can stall long enough to find this photograph, I can tell you. Let's see. So there are. Okay, so if we're 45 minutes from Portland there, that might be 20 or 30 minutes west.
Oh my goodness.
Like there are big sighting clumps on both sides of the city.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, out on the Coast Range and then here on the Cascades. So they're all over the place, and they come a lot closer to towns than people realize. And it also helps that the towns here are like in and right up against the forest. So they don't have to like walk across a field for 3 miles to get into town. You know, it's just, you could cut across green belts and probably get from here to the coast without being seen if you wanted to.
So hearing all these stories and taking the data and putting them on maps, are you starting to see trends emerge of like, oh, that makes sense because it's in that type of area, or it's around like, you know, maybe a food source, or have you noticed any thing being around these data?
Yeah. So you can really tell where it seems to be where they have been in the past, they'll be now. Okay. You know, not like in the exact same spot, right? But it seems like however these family groups work, you know, maybe 2 or 3 of them, they'll stay in the same valley. And then when the little ones grow up, they stay in that same valley. And then if they have kids, it seems to be like that, because you can find valleys here with just like sighting report after sighting report going back into the 1920s, even like it's insane. Like it's such a weird thing. But they do seem to stay relatively close to where they always have been, which blows my mind.
So cool, man.
Yeah,
that's so cool. What are your what are your top books that you like to read or reference to do with Bigfoot and that category?
Well, since we were just talking about it, the Oregon Bigfoot Highway is really good. It's like I just said, just full of information. It's a great starting point to kind of see what's been going on and you know, use that research to kind of find good spots of your own. So I like that. There's a lot of really interesting behavior things in that book too, from witness reports that I like. So that one's good. I really like Dr. Meldrum's book for 1,000 reasons. You know, Legend Meets Science is kind of the book to read if you're starting out.
Totally.
I try to read that once a year. It's just about the time of year to read it again, actually.
Yeah.
Grover Krantz's book is good. Both of Dr. Bindernagel's, I think, are my. Okay. If we had to pick favorites, Meldrum's book and then Dr. Bindernagel's books after that. That's cool. Those are my 3 favorite books. Cool. And those last 2 are hard to find now, it seems like.
I've noticed that they are some of those are extremely expensive on Amazon.
Yeah. I think they're out of print.
Nuts. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So we're kind of trying to find somebody like a publisher that's printing those still, so we can sell them here in the store for not a few $100s. But
there's a hold on. Yep.
We'll see.
Let me make a note.
Okay. I will take another sip.
That's a
generic soda.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Man. Okay. Sorry, my mind is totally. I think of
mine too.
Crazy stuff all the time, and then I forget it. It's probably a condition, but this has been awesome fun. What's on your bucket list? What's on your Bigfoot bucket list? Like, I'm assuming that like a lot of stuff that has happened since you were working at the museum, that's probably really cool. Is there anything that like is still on the list? Like, oh, I still want to go do this, or like what's your goals when it comes to
top of my bucket list? I want to see one broad daylight 30 feet away.
Oh my goodness,
it's never going to happen, but that's top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
I have not been to Skookum Meadows yet. I want to go up there.
Okay.
Where they pulled the Skookum cast. I want to check that off my list.
Totally.
On that same weekend trip or whatever, I'm going to go to Ape Canyon, check that out.
Oh, okay.
So Mark Marcel, the guy who found where the cabin was.
Yep.
He was in the shop a couple weeks ago. I've talked with him a bunch.
Cool.
And I can neither confirm nor deny I found part of a saw blade that was recovered from the ruins of that cabin, which
yes,
which is pretty fun.
That is so cool.
So I want to go up there. I want to go check that out. There are, I don't know. I think those are like the top of my list right now.
That's cool, man.
I'd like to pour some actual good tracks. I'd like to find a good track line and cast 4 or 5 in a row. That would be awesome.
That would be cool.
I'd like to film one. That would be great.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that. So there's a lot of the usual Bigfooter stuff on the list, but
right.
I like the history, and there's a lot of Bigfoot history around here. So I've got to.
Oh yeah, dude.
Kind of check all that out.
You're a very smart guy to figure out what you're into, and then to find a way to put yourself in the middle of it. It's the smartest thing ever. Totally.
Like I've said 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more times. I got really lucky. This whole thing just kind of fell into my lap at the right time, and it's just everything worked out. So, and from here I could drive 6 hours in any direction and get to any of the best Bigfooting places in the country and Canada. Like it's all like right here.
I would assume like Willow Creek is probably a far drive, right? That's probably a haul. But you've got everything else. Yeah.
I don't know for sure. It's probably 6 or 7 hours from here.
Oh, dude, I drive that, and I drive on a Saturday for Uber, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, that'd be a piece of cake.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, thanks for coming out. Like this has been super, super fun.
I've enjoyed it. Yeah.
What are the ways that, first off, are there any questions that I haven't asked you that I should? Anything? I don't know. It's a weird question to ask, but.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we've covered anything that I thought might come up. There's nothing that I'm itching to. I mean, I have one good spooky story, but I was going to save that for the after show.
Yeah, let's save that for the after show.
Yeah,
don't worry, that's coming.
Yep.
So what are the ways that I have a feeling that people are starting to learn who you are, and what are the ways that you usually have people follow you to keep in touch with what you're doing?
Well, I have a Twitter account.
Oh, yep.
Which I don't use very often, but I use it so not often that I forget what my user. I think it's Connor W. Anderson on Twitter, right?
I think you're right in it. I'll put it in the show notes. So
okay,
you're good.
See, I'm very bad at this. I know that on Instagram I'm just Connor Anderson Bigfoot. Okay. Because I was Colorado Sasquatch, but I don't live there now, so that was kind of
yeah, makes sense.
I had to fix that, and through the North American Bigfoot Center's any of their pages, you can also, if you're looking for me, you can go through that way too.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Connor, thanks for coming on. We'll have to catch up with you maybe in a year or so and kind of see what's going on up there with you guys in the North American Bigfoot Center. But Connor's going to stay on for an extra few minutes and share some, he's got some extra stories, maybe something spooky. We'll see. You never know. But if you want to hear the extra stuff for Bigfoot Society After Dark, you can join our Patreon. Go to BigfootSocietyPodcast.com. Patreon's up in the corner, and it's $5 a month. Helps us keep the lights on. So, again, thanks for coming on, Connor. It's been a good time.
I enjoyed it. Thank you very much. And whenever you want to talk, just let me know.
Cool.
I'll keep you updated.
All right. Talk to you guys later.